What happens when an unstoppable idealist meets a friend consumed by vengeful darkness? Alibaba and Hakuryu's confrontation is arguably the most emotional duel in Magi because the stakes weren't political, they were personal. In this video, I want to talk about the fight that drove Alibaba to his limit. Now, if you're wondering why this battle happened in the first place, let me tell you. You see, prior to this confrontation, Hakuryu, with the help of Judar and others, defeated Gokuen. This was a goal Hakuryu strived for since Gokuen was the cause for a lot of his suffering. So you assume he would be happy, right? Well, wrong. Because even after getting rid of the person he's seen as his enemy, he was just left feeling empty. Because for so many years, he was directing his anger at someone. So, feeling empty, he decided to direct his anger at someone else, being Cohen, saying how killing Cohen would make the world a better place. But in reality, Hakuryu doesn't care about making the world a better place. He just needs something to force his frustrations onto. Even Judar says this much himself, that Hakuryu is falling into depravity and Hakuryu is loving it. Now, obviously, Cohen hears about this and decides if Hakuryu wants to fight, he's willing to start a civil war with Hakuryu. But not everyone thinks this is the best time for a civil war, especially Alibaba and Aladdin. Alibaba and Aladdin thought that even though the last time they seen Hakuryu, they wasn't on the best of terms, but at the end of the day, they're still friends, so maybe they can come to an understanding. Especially since there is a threat that is far more opposing, Alibaba thought this wasn't the time to be fighting amongst others. But more importantly, Alibaba couldn't let someone he thought of as a friend go down the wrong path. Upon arrival, they're greeted by Judar and shown the way to Hakuryu, where Hakuryu seemed to be unexpectedly welcoming. At first, the conversation is going fine until Hakuryu asks Alibaba about his real intentions for coming. Now, Hakuryu assumed Alibaba was here to team up against Cohen, but Alibaba straight up tells him he's not here to do that. He's here to stop the war. Hakuryu doesn't respond to this lightly though. Hakuryu even tells Alibaba that he knows about the threat that's coming soon, but he still feels that killing Cohen is more of an important task. Even calling Alibaba a disappointment because he should be against Cohen as well. Alibaba starts to get irritated, but he keeps his composure, telling Hakuryu that he may have to fight his own people and former allies. Hakuryu then goes on to tell Alibaba that he is a hypocrite because of his idealistic ideas, which in a way he is right to an extent. At this point, Alibaba haven't seen Hakuryu in almost a year. Not only did they leave on awkward terms, but after a lot has happened to Hakuryu, upon seeing Alibaba, a man who he thought of as a friend, having to undermine his feelings and then he stopped his actions. With that, Hakuryu has nothing left to say and immediately tries to use magic before Aladdin saves Alibaba. Hakuryu tries to use memory magic on Alibaba again and it works, but then Aladdin saves him for a second time. When Hakuryu transforms and forces Alibaba into a one-on-one, while Judar fights Aladdin. Alibaba then does his Jin and Quill to fight Hakuryu. Even though Hakuryu intends to kill Alibaba, Alibaba isn't trying to kill him. But over the fight, this slowly starts to change. Like when Alibaba sees that Hakuryu is using one of his Jins to control his people, Alibaba completely abandons the idea of leaving or retreating. Not only that, but Hakuryu tells Alibaba that his people will face the same fate, provoking Alibaba further. Telling him winning is the only way to stop it from happening. Even when being told this, Alibaba persists on not fighting to end Hakuryu's life. Still, Hakuryu keeps reminding Alibaba that since he lacks determination, he can't win. Inferring that even though Alibaba has always fought for others, he never fought for himself. The fight continues, but Hakuryu isn't getting nowhere close to beating Alibaba. Reason being, Hakuryu's Jin is able to manipulate plant life, and since Alibaba has the Jin Amon, a fire Jin that allows him to conjure and manipulate fire, this battle should have been decided. Well, that's under a normal situation. You see, in Magi, it's extremely rare for someone to have a Jin in the first place, much less be able to use a Jin equal to boost their powers further. Hakuryu was one of the few exceptions though. So when Alibaba seen that Hakuryu could use a Jin equal for another Jin, he knew that this battle was going to be tougher than it should have been, especially since he didn't know what the other Jin powers were. It took him by surprise when Hakuryu finally landed a hit on his leg. This is where we learned that if you're hit by Hakuryu's scythe, it removes whatever part hit to a different dimension, meaning any damage dealt is irreversible, so every hit is lethal. Even healing magic won't work. Now, since Alibaba has already been hit, the fight has gotten harder. Still though, Alibaba was able to hold his own, until Alibaba takes another hit to his arm, finally pushing him to the limit. With two useless limbs, Alibaba decides to use maximum magic, a Jin user's most powerful attack. Hakuryu likes this because now Alibaba is finally showing that he's taking the fight seriously. So Hakuryu decided to respond with his own maximum magic. Alibaba then coats the field in flames, so Hakuryu must now take his attack head on. Now Hakuryu does something similar with his effect, hitting Alibaba head on and draining his senses. Hakuryu magic didn't get a chance to take full effect because Alibaba flames were starting to burn Hakuryu's magic, forcing Hakuryu to go strike for strike. Now, Judar and the land tries to see who won. That's when we see Hakuryu lost both legs. But Hakuryu is the winner because Hakuryu purposely lost his legs to strike Alibaba's head, bringing this almost 10 chapter conflict to an end. Now, call me crazy, but I actually feel like Alibaba could have won this fight if he took it seriously the whole time. But throughout almost the whole battle, Alibaba held on to the idea that he could change Hakuryu's mind. If you like me discussing specific fights like this, like the video and I'll do more. Or comment a fight that you would like a video on. But besides that, that's basically it.